Mark Clements with NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune over at Christian Life High School with former LSU and NFL running back Jacob Hester. And I want to kind of start with, why you guys are out here for this camp and everything. And I guess to kind of give us a little bit of background on how this sort of came to be and your involvement with it and how it's gone so far these 3 days.
Coach Ben Palmer, the new coach over here at Christian Life, actually coaching my brothers up in Shreveport at Calvary Baptist last year. When he got the job down here, he asked me if I'd be interested in doing a camp in Baton Rouge, and I've been trying to do a camp down here for like 7 years, ever since I got drafted. I've done one in Shreveport, but I could never find a way to get one done in Baton Rouge, and so he said he'd help me out to do it, and I was more than welcome to come. And then when he told me Michael Clayton was willing to come, I made it a no-brainer for me. I mean, he's Mr. Baton Rouge, so if I could attach my name to his, I thought it'd be a good thing.
And how's everything gone so far these past 3 days, and what does it mean to you to kind of be able to give back to these kids and pass along whatever you've learned?
Oh, it's going really well. We got a lot. I think they got almost 100 kids out here, so it's went really well. I love just interacting with the young kids. I have kids myself, and so it's just fun to kind of get out there and play around with them. And then the high school kids, it's actually fun to kind of bring them to the side, talk to them, see how the recruiting's going, seeing who they've talked to or what maybe they need help to. I try to I give my number to all the guys that are getting recruited, so if I can ever help them in any way, just because through the years you find all these coaches that maybe were at LSU when you were there, now they're head coaches other places. So if you can try to help them in any way you can get recruited, you try.
And a lot of people appreciated your story. A guy who was a little bit more under the radar and he worked his way to success at LSU and then in the NFL. What kind of stuff did you pick up along the way that you're not trying to pass on to these guys, maybe in a similar situation?
Oh, I try to tell any camp or any kids I get to talk to, I try to tell them, like, I was a 2-star recruit. A lot of people didn't want me. A lot of people didn't think I could do anything. When I signed with LSU, our class was #1, and I was such a low-rated recruit, it went down to #2. That's just so that kind of motivated me. That made me want to be the first guy to play in that class, and that was my goal, was to be the first guy who started in my class. And I achieved that just because I just kept getting driven by people telling me I couldn't do it or would never, you look at me, you would never think I was a starting running back at LSU. And so stuff like that motivated me, and I just like to tell these kids, look, it doesn't matter who says you can't do it. If you think you can do it.
And I heard you on the radio last week or 2 weeks ago, and you get asked about the Florida game all the time. But whenever you think back on your memories of LSU and the NFL, anything that sticks out in particular, whether it's that game or anything else that may be as high profile to fans, but was a big deal to you?
The Florida game always gets talked about. Obviously, that was a great night in Tiger Stadium. Hearing USC lost and it made us really the clear-cut kind of #1 team in the country, all the 4th downs and all that. But one of the best memories I have at LSU is everybody thinking no way we're going to the national championship after we beat Tennessee in the SEC championship. Like 8 things had to happen. I can remember being on the plane. The athletic director's right in front of me and Matt Flynn, Skip Bertman at the time. The pilot coming on the loudspeaker and updating us with scores of all these teams that had to lose, and he keeps going down the line. We're like, no way. And then once the last score came out, I think it was Pittsburgh, beat West Virginia, and that was really what we needed. The whole plane just erupts. You got people throwing blankets and high-fiving Skip and his wife, and people are throwing stuff everywhere. So that was definitely probably the most memorable moment.
I know you're down here again doing some TV stuff and covering LSU games. Just how has that gone, and how did you kind of break into the broadcasting field and enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's been a blast. Last year, I was down in New Orleans with minicamp with the Saints, and just injuries and missing my family and stuff. I decided it was time to hang my spikes up, hang the cleats up, and out of the blue, really, I had kind of whispered to Michael Bonnett's here, the SID at LSU, that one day I would like to be involved with broadcasting, especially if I could get it in with the school. And pretty much the day after I decided I was going to retire from the NFL, I got a call from Cox Sports and saying, hey, we got this show. It's a live game day show. Kevin Mawai, Gordy Rush involved. Do you want to do it? And before he could even say it, I was like, absolutely, I'll be there. Tell me where I can sign up. And so we had a blast. Gordy and I get to go on the road. It's really been the fun part of it. Is playing, you go to Auburn, you go to Alabama, you go to these places, you don't get to experience it. But when you're doing TV, we do a live show at 11 a.m. So after that, we get to walk around campus. We get to see the tailgating. We get to see all these different stadiums, all these different cities that we've been to, played in, but never got to experience it. So I'm looking forward to the Syracuse trip this year. That's somewhere that LSU fans have never really been or don't know a whole lot about, so I'm looking forward to it.
What I guess aspect of the broadcasting world took you by the most surprise when you got into that? Maybe the player you didn't think.
It surprised me how difficult it was, and not talking in front of the camera. Talking in front of the camera, it kind of comes if you do enough interviews, you kind of feel a little comfortable. Obviously, it's still hard, but preparing for it was the hardest part. Having to learn players' names, learning where they're from, learning their strengths, weaknesses, things like that. You think you know LSU football until you have to dive into it, because you're going to have to go down a depth chart. You have to know 3 deep, not only for LSU but for South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt. These teams that you might not know a whole lot about coming in. Teams that are in the East that you didn't play a whole lot. And so it's one of the toughest things I ever did, was have to prepare, learn these names, learn where they're from, learn a little bit about them. And it's been difficult, but it's also fun because it keeps you kind of in the game too. Like, you prepare for a game, and it's kind of the same way. You have notes, you watch video, you do different things just like you would if you were playing.
I won't give you the 20Q, but just real quick, overall thoughts on LSU this year, kind of how things panning out. The seasons are rapidly approaching. I think they got a team that can go as far as they want to go. I think the schedule is going to be tough as always, but I also think they got some good home games this year, where last year it was a little tough, and they had some pretty tough non-conference last year. Opened up Wisconsin, that's a tough game. A lot of people kind of overlooked that, but that was a tough game to kind of start off. It's hard to kind of get your feet wet when you're playing a team like Wisconsin. This year, they opened up with McNeese State. Hopefully we can get a lot of guys playing time and give them some experience, because week 2 I think it's Mississippi State, and that'll come soon. And so I think they're set up on defense about as good as you can be set up, and obviously the quarterback play is going to be the big question, but whoever gets it, I think will be the right guy. I think Brandon Harris is going to get even better from last year. I think he'll learn, and he's definitely one of the most talented guys I've ever seen throwing the football. So hopefully he can get a little bit of maturity, and he'll grow and be the quarterback. And just as a running back, how impressed are you with Leonard Fournette and just the size and speed and combination that he has?
He's probably the best all-around, one of the best all-around football players I think I've ever seen. When I first got to college, I thought Joseph Fadai was the ultimate. He's got a lot of Joseph Fadai in him. He can catch, run, block. He can do it all. He can run around you. He can run through you. About game 3 or 4 last year, you can see he learned how to run in college football, and once he did, nobody could stop him. And one of the things that makes Leonard such a good player is he's just as good a guy off the field as he is on the field. Talking to him, he's real sharp. He does good in the classroom, things like that, and that really makes you an overall player, just not only doing it on the field.
All right, Jacob, it's good to catch up with you. I know we'll keep an eye out for you this fall. For Jacob Hester, Mark Clements, NOLA.com, Tom's Picayune.